What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Ray V. Let's get it.
Sad boy.
Sad boy quote of the day.
F ain't for feels, it's for fantasies. So let's get into our deepest fantasies, baby.
I'll give you a third for him, though.
It's a buy low video today. 5 players I think that are great buy lows currently. Let's see if y'all agree, or you just think I'm stupid. Let me try to convince y'all though. Our first guy is going to be Jared Goff. Wow, the QB of one of the best producing offenses out there. What a shocker. Well, people are still valuing him as an aging QB2, but he's producing like a QB1. Consider what he's actually done recently. 4 straight 4,000 plus yard seasons. Chicago still hasn't had a 4K passer ever in history, by the way. Goff finishes around 4,500 passing yards and 30 plus touchdowns annually during that 4-year stretch. He's finished as a top 10 fantasy QB again in 2025 with 4,564 yards and 34 passing touchdowns, and he hasn't missed a game since 2021. In Superflex, availability and stability matter almost as much as upside. Everyone wants the rushing QBs, but not every roster can start 2 elite dual threat quarterbacks. Goff gives you something many Dynasty managers underestimate, a very high possibility of producing QB8 to QB14 numbers for the next several seasons. The market discount exists because he's 31, he doesn't run, he's not exciting, but none of those things score fantasy points directly. The NFL has shown that pocket passers can remain productive well into their mid to late 30s. If Goff gives you 4 more years of QB1, QB2 production, that's a massive return on current costs. Meanwhile, managers are paying premiums for younger quarterbacks who haven't actually produced at Goff's level yet. A good Dynasty question is, will this player score more fantasy points over the next 2 to 3 years than the market expects? For Goff, the answer is often yes. A reasonable buy low price would be a random feature first from a contender, a late 2026 first, 2 seconds, a younger but uncertain asset like JJ McCarthy plus a small sweetener if you're competing right now. Most managers treat Goff as if he's one bad season away from irrelevance. His actual profile looks more like safe starter through at least 2028, strong supporting cast, proven passing volume, annual QB1, QB2 production. That's the Dynasty arbitrage, baby. If you're a contender and can acquire him for a late first or less, that's exactly the type of boring move that wins Superflex leagues. You're buying points while everyone else is chasing youth. Our next guy's going to be Deshaun Watson, or you can call your shot on Sheduer Sanders. Think it's a true QB battle with Watson currently leading. Definitely think both would only get this year to produce before the Browns move on though. Even with a good season from either, not gonna lie. But I'll give the leg up to Watson right now. Watson is the complete opposite of Jared Goff. With Goff, you get a boring producer. With Watson, you're buying a lottery ticket. That doesn't mean you shouldn't buy him in Superflex Dynasty. It just means the price has to be extremely cheap. There's still a path to value. Watson has been medically cleared and has been taking reps during Cleveland's OTAs in camp after missing significant time with Achilles injuries. He's legitimately competing for the starting job in 2026 and could even enter training camp as a favorite. In Superflex, starting quarterbacks are valuable almost regardless of talent level. If Watson starts 10 to 17 games, his Dynasty value could jump dramatically from today's depressed levels. The market has largely written him off. That's where buy low opportunities come from. The reason he's cheap are obvious. He hasn't played meaningful football since 2024. He suffered a torn Achilles and then he retore it during recovery. His Cleveland production before the injury was far below his Houston peak. Cleveland has younger alternatives and no long-term commitment beyond 2026. Maybe Will Fuller made him for real. Just bring back Will Fuller from wherever he went. Or was the massages? One or the other, or both, I don't know. But unlike Goff, I cannot confidently project Watson as a starter beyond this season. In Superflex, I care about asymmetric bets. If Watson flames out, you lose a late round pick. If Watson wins the job and is even mediocre, you suddenly have a startable quarterback whose market value doubles or triples. That's a good risk reward profile. A reasonable buy low price would be a 2027 fourth, a late 2027 third, an end of the roster wide receiver or running back who probably won't ever crack your lineup, a bunch of fab but people still believe Sorbsy can sue his way into the NFL. There's a chance. Jared Goff is a buy low because he's undervalued. Deshaun Watson is a buy low because he's nearly free. If someone wants a second round pick, pass. But if you can acquire him for a late third or less in a 12-team Superflex league, that's the kind of low-risk quarterback gamble that can pay off if he simply wins a starting job. The odds are not great, but at that price, they don't have to be. Next guy's gonna be Chris Rodriguez. C-Rod. But the Bishaw Tootin hype train? C-Rod is still injured? There ain't a single camp clip against air though? C-Rod is the type of player who wins you value by becoming a useful running back 3 flex, not by turning into a league-winning asset. I mean, Technically, he still could. The market still treats Rodriguez like a replacement level backup, but he's shown he could be productive when given work. Washington declined to tender him despite a 2025 season in which he rushed for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns in 13 games, with 7 of those being starts. He immediately lands with Jacksonville, where the backfield entered the offseason without a clear bell cow, and he played with Liam Cohen 5 years ago in college. Even before leaving Washington, he consistently earned touches whenever injuries opened opportunities and developed a reputation as a tough, efficient runner. Community sentiment among Commander fans was surprisingly positive after his departure. He's one injury or one strong camp away from being worth significantly more than his acquisition cost. That's exactly the profile you want at the end of your roster. There are obvious limitations. He's already 26. He has almost no receiving profile. Jacksonville could easily add more competition. Byshaw Tooting could just break out. C-Rod's ceiling is probably a lead back committee rather than true workhorse. You're not buying the next breakout running back one. You're buying a cheap player who can suddenly get 12 to 15 touches per game. Running backs become valuable much faster than wide receivers. If C-Rod opens the year as Jacksonville's early down runner and goal line back, his value could jump from throw-in status to a future second round pick almost overnight. You just need that starting announcement. That's a worthwhile bet. A reasonable buy low price would be a 2027 fourth, a late 2027 third, or a roster clogging wide receiver. C-Rod is a buy low because he's a cheap running back with a plausible path to touches. He is one of the best cost adjusted upside players so far. If someone in your league will sell C-Rod for a third round pick or less, that's exactly the kind of depth running back acquisition I like making in Dynasty. Our next guy is Isiah Pacheco. But Sonic and Knuckles 2.0, right? Maybe Sonic and Tails, probably. If Jared Goff is a buy low because he's boring, then Isiah Pacheco is a buy low because people think he's dead. The difference is that Pacheco actually deserves some of the skepticism. Pacheco's dynasty value has absolutely cratered and feels close to the bottom. After injuries derailed his 2024 and 2025 seasons, he left Kansas City and signed with the Lions. Detroit appears to view him as the replacement for the physical role previously occupied by David Montgomery. If he inherits even a portion of that goal line and short yardage workload, he could become a useful weekly flex despite playing behind Jahmyr Gibbs. We have already seen Pacheco succeed in the NFL. This isn't a roster clogger who has never done anything. He's a former starting running back on a championship offense with multiple productive seasons on his resume. To be fair, the concerns are real. He'll be 27 this season. He has missed significant time due to injuries over the last 2 years. His efficiency has declined substantially since his peak years. He has not looked nearly as explosive since the leg injury, and he's clearly behind Gibbs in the pecking order. You're not buying a future running back one, you're buying touchdown equity and contingent upside. Running backs don't need long-term job security to gain dynasty value. If Pacheco scores 7 to 10 touchdowns in Detroit and looks competent in the Montgomery role, his value can jump quickly. If Gibbs misses any time, Pacheco could suddenly become a weekly starter. Handcuff upside could just be the main reason he's still interesting. The community sentiment is also telling. Many dynasty managers have largely written him off, which is exactly when buy low opportunities emerge. A reasonable buy low price I'd happily pay would be a late 2027 third, 2 fourths, or an end of the bench wide receiver who probably never starts for your team. Isiah Pacheco is a worthwhile buy if the cost is less than a third. If someone in your league will sell Pacheco for a 2027 third, I'd make that trade. If they're asking for a second, I'd let someone else take that risk.
And our last guy's gonna be Travis Hunter. That DB taken second overall last year? That's crazy. Ain't they say he's switching to full-time corner or something? For Travis Hunter, the market is trying to price an unprecedented situation. If you're buying Hunter, you're betting on talent winning out. Simple as that. Did the Jags really take a DB-only prospect at number 2 overall? I'd say if he was classified as a DB only last year, he'd go top 10, not number 2. Hunter was one of the most unique prospects ever, and Jacksonville paid a massive price to draft him. The organization invested premium draft capital to acquire him, and I still believe it's unlikely they ultimately use him as just a cornerback. There are several reasons to buy. He has elite athletic profile and ball skills, number 2 overall pick pedigree, still only 23 years old, a realistic scenario where his offensive role grows over time. If he becomes even a 75% full-time wide receiver, his dynasty value could explode. Even just gadget plays, he's either getting the ball or he's decoying. And he can only really be a decoy if he's getting the ball a good amount of times. The logic is logicking. The upside outcome is enormous because the market is no longer valuing him like a future wide receiver 1, especially not the first round rookie pick seemingly wasted on him last year, as high as 102 in drafts. Yikes. The problem is that the concerns are legitimate. His rookie season was cut short by a significant knee injury. Jacksonville has openly discussed increasing his defensive workload. Multiple reports have suggested he may primarily play cornerback in 2026. The Jaguars already have established receiving options, reducing pressure to force offensive snaps to Hunter. Jacoby Myers and Brenton Strange already extended. Parker Washington is being talked about for his as well, and the resurgence hype train for Brian Thomas Jr. is loud and proud by the coaching staff. BTJ managers are saying to take the T out of his name and give them that along with your offer if you want to trade for him right now. In fantasy football, a great cornerback is worth almost nothing unless you play IDP. That's the entire risk. I'd buy because dynasty managers are pricing in the worst case scenario. The community sentiment has become extremely pessimistic. Many managers who spend a top rookie pick on a Hunter are now willing to move him for a second round pick or equivalent value. When a player has elite pedigree, elite athleticism, elite draft capital, and costs a fraction of what he did a year ago, I'm interested. Not because he's safe, because the upside to cost ratio is finally attractive. A reasonable buy low would be a late 2027 second, 2/3, a depth wide receiver, and a little something on top. Travis Hunter is now the biggest upside relative to cost on this list. If I could acquire Hunter for a late 2027 second or a future second, I'd be sending offers today. That's the kind of bet that could either die quietly or suddenly regain first round startup value with a few months of positive offensive usage.
I hope you guys like the players I brought to the table today. The trade analysis game is something y'all enjoy, and I know it. Are y'all feeling the names? Finna hit your sleeper app right now? Already did? Well, you can't do that without your daily dose of send that trade. Send it. Send it. That's it for today, though. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, rebuilds fade, dynasties reign.
Call me a lover boy, simp, Libra. It's more than love sick. I got a fever. Feelings overloading. Not to be a diva. Standing 10 toes down. I'm not gonna leave you.